Hello, my name is Richard Peterson, and on behalf of the California Film Institute, welcome to the series For Your Consideration, part of Rafael at Home. People viewing this would have just seen the film Quo Vadis, Aida, which is the Oscar entry for Bosnia and Herzegovina. And we're very, very thrilled to have the writer-director here, Jasmila Zbanic. Welcome,
Hello.
Jasmila. Again, I apologize for my pronunciation.
No, it was very good.
But the first word that comes to mind to describe this film is devastating. It is a very, very strong film. And it's very, I think what you depict is probably the hell of war as much as any film I've ever seen. I don't want to scare people away from the film because of this, but this is a true story, is it not? I mean, the story, obviously, the setting is very true in 1995. And the genocide that goes on is depicted in the film. I should also mention that you are not a stranger to award season in terms of your background of filmmaking, because one of your films, Quo Vadis, won the Golden Bear at the Berlin Film Festival and several other awards as well. But I think this is a very, very strong film. Do one maybe start with what you meant by the title of the film, Quo Vadis, Aida?
Thank you very much for such a nice words about the movie. It is based on true story of events that happened in Bosnia in 95, which are now called genocide because it's proved in international tribunal that it was created in order to extinguish completely the one nation in Bosnia. So I live in Bosnia, and as a Bosnian, this is a big trauma for me, for all of us, and I wanted to make something about it, knowing that fiction is, has its advantages and disadvantages. So my approach was, I wanted to make a film which will keep all actual facts, all these things did happen. I didn't want anybody to say, oh, this was not like that. I checked everything. I consulted many experts. I talked to many witnesses. And then I made Aida as a fictional character going through these events, how they were unfolding. The title
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, the title I choose because it is story from, it is a religious story of somebody who is returning, Peter, who is returning for the place of where he will be tortured. So this is for me something which is, which I think in a contemporary world, people like Aida are what used to be in the history our saints. I think saints today are normal people who are doing this unbelievable things of going on with life after tragedies, of being human after such unhuman conditions they live through. So that's why I thought it's time that we change premises, and this woman is somebody who deserves to be this piedestal.
And you live in Srebrenica, don't you?
I live in Srebrenica is 2 hours from Sarajevo, where I live, and Sarajevo was also under the siege since from 92 till 95. So I lived in a city which was under the siege without water, food, electricity, gas for almost 3.5 years. This is where I can totally identify with people in Srebrenica. But unlike Sarajevo, Srebrenica had this destiny which was much harder. Sarajevo was very often visited by journalists. So I had a feeling they were also protecting us. Many US journalists were also in Sarajevo. They were protecting us with their cameras because they were witnessing what was happening. So Serbian troops couldn't do everything they wanted because they were observed. There were pictures of what they were doing. In Srebrenica, there was not a single journalist, not a single camera present, except camera of General Mladic, who was a propagandistic camera, not showing what was really there. So I think the destiny of this city was also so cruel because there were not a presence of cameras and journalists who were looking at it. Of course, United Nations were present, but they were not doing their job, and the film is all about that.
Yes, just to remind people that Mladic was a real person, or is he still alive? I know
Yes.
he was tried, but in absentia. I think that he was tried. He was not at the trial, but they captured him years later, I believe. So he was running.
He was hiding for years, and now he's in jail.
This Aida, so Aida is a fictional character, but I think very interesting. You poise her. She's she's related to the Dutch contingent, the UN soldiers in the film, but she's also a Bosnian, and her family is in the crowd. I have to say, one of the most spectacular and frightening shots in the film is the first shot of the crowd that's outside the gates. It's almost endless, and it's, there's a whole tension throughout the film. I think the actress playing Aida must have been exhausted in the role because she's always running around. She's always running from one place to another. And I don't mean to laugh. I think it's heartbreaking. But it's I think there's so many details in the film that are very much part of this. You mentioned obviously the ineffectual quality of the Dutch soldiers. They are not unsympathetic, though. You do see where they're being they're being isolated by their own army, and they're trying to cope as much as they can. Unfortunately, they don't have the power to counteract what's happening.
Yeah, the thing with United Nations is that they had the mission, the resolution, the conclusion that they have to protect these people, and they had weapons to do so. Mm-hmm. Dutch soldiers didn't fire a single bullet to protect people. So this is a tragedy where people believed in this institution of United Nations. They believed in security, in the system, in human rights, and because these commanders behaved the way they did, and it is true they were left alone, but still they had some possibilities to react. They just let people go. Dutch just wanted to go home and get rid of these people. They had a lot of prejudice because majority of people there were Muslims. And so that was also in the system. It's not the only reason, but there was many reasons that led to this horrible result. When I started researching and talking to survivors, many of them thought Dutch really didn't want to help, and they were all kind of without heart and just not having any humanity in them. But when I went to Amsterdam to meet some of them, I realized that a lot of them were just kids. They were 18, 19 years old. It was almost, for many of them, it was their first trip abroad. Mm. And they were not prepared for what is there. And they really suffer. A lot of them has a post-traumatic syndromes. They and many in Netherlands, I must say, this Srebrenica tragedy is a national trauma for people there, from taxi driver to actors that were in my film. It is a trauma and that they need to talk about. So, my perspective changed. I imagine at the beginning when I talked to survivors, okay, these, soldiers, big guys who were not caring about people. But when I met them, of course, the commanders are a different story. They had power, but many of soldiers were absolutely lost. They were kids who didn't know how to react. And just to comment on what you said of Jasna Đuričić, actress who is playing Aida, running around. When we started, we did a lot of rehearsals before the film. But when we started really filming it, after a few days, she said, Jasmila, you didn't tell me that this is an action movie. I'm just running and running. It's really, we really didn't realize, from rehearsals that it's most of the time that she's doing so.
Yeah. I'm sorry, looking for my, oh yeah, I just wanted to, related to what you said, I think there's this one, it's just not a long shot, but there's a very expressive shot of the young soldier crying, that he is, helpless, but he is like a little boy, he's lost, yeah. And there are a number of little details like that. There's also the soldier who was Aida's student, which, shows you, again, this is a civil war, it's people who used to live together, who used to study together, and they're killing each other. Yeah, it's,
yeah. The war always starts, with the elites wanting to profit from the clash. And unfortunately, how it goes down to people, us who are not in these powerful positions, then it's complete mess. Then it's, teachers against students and friends against friends and, family against family. Then it's madness. So that's why the war for me is something which I would never be able to characterize as good, not giving any adjective to war except that it's a banality of evil. For me is not acceptable.
Did any of your performers or extras actually live through the situation that we're watching?
Yes, I mean, most of our crew, our actors were living in this kind of situation, like Izudin Bajrović, who is playing husband, Nihad, he was living under the siege in Sarajevo. Jasna Đuričić, main actress, she's from Serbia. So she was living on the other side, let's say, and other side of narratives where Serbia is still not recognizing genocide. They still, officials say that genocide never happened. But Jasna really wanted to be in the film because she's thinking differently, and she was very brave to accept this role. So it is our common experience. Especially with extras, we realized while filming that, there were two situations which are describing it maybe in the best way. First one was when men are climbing this truck to to be taken away. I told extras how to do it, what is the line, how they should climb, what they should do. And one man told me, this is not the way they did it to us. And I was like, oh, wow. And I said, okay, can you explain me how was it? He said, yes, I was in a concentration camp for 1 year. They took me, and when they were moving us, they told us to put hands like this and, to lower the head when we entered the truck. And I was like, okay, we will do it the way you said it. So this was very emotional, and there I realized how many people had this experience of, not in Srebrenica, but in other cities. And we also had a situation where a Serbian soldier is entering the base, and this actor is fantastic actor, Emir Hadžihafizbegović. He's coming with all these weapons, and we did rehearsal. And in this rehearsal, 2 extras, women, had nervous breakdown. We had to call emergency to take them away because they were kids when they were in concentration camps. And it just triggered the image of this man with weapons, in uniform, yelling at them, triggered something that they were not aware of. And this was very, very hard shooting day. And especially for actor, he was telling them, I'm actor, but they couldn't see him. They just saw their past.
The end, the movie is, the entire movie is very moving, but I think some of the moments at the end, particularly when Aida looks at the blankets of belongings that are strewn across the floor, and she breaks down there. I'm wondering, I did wonder, when she visits her old apartment, that she asks the woman, she says, please move out as soon as you can. But I didn't, I know it's her old apartment, but we didn't see what, anything that happened beyond that. But was it just her plaintive, request, or what, did she have a way of getting the family to leave the apartment? I wasn't sure about that.
Yes, the rule after the war was that everybody, because the war finished in Dayton, Ohio, which is maybe not many US people know it, but it was a Holbrooke Clinton initiative to end the war in Bosnia. So the peace agreement was signed there in a military base in Dayton, Ohio. And one of this conclusions were that international community, US, NATO will protect people who want to, who claim their private possessions, like apartments, houses, land. So that was guaranteed after the war. So for people from this region, it's clear, but I knew that in a film I can't explain everything, but it is something that she has a right to do, to ask for her apartment. But it was dangerous for many people. So that's why this character of a Serbian woman who lives in her apartment now says, it's not smart for you to do this. And she said, I have nothing to lose. Because for many people, that would sound like threat, and she would not come back. And for Aida, it was, I have nothing to lose, so just leave. Because in that apartment are all her memories. She sees her kids, she hears voices, and she feels more connected to them there than anywhere else.
Yes, yeah, no, the ending is tremendously moving, and she has, the end of the film, I think it's the only time we see her smiling, and it's a very ambiguous smile, because it's, you can see the pain in her face when she's watching the children. You know, and that's uh, such a contrast, you know, that she's a teacher of children. She's also a United Nations translator, and she's dealing with people, you know, in such a basic way. But I think if are there, it's yeah. I'm just thinking of all of these scenes that are very, very effective, and I'm trying
Thank
to
you.
uh, I'm trying to form a question, I guess, about them. But I think it's a movie that, you know, there's an aspect that is somewhat similar to Sophie's Choice, the kind of choice that she is forced to make at that point when, you know, you can save one of your children or your husband, you know, that, and it's an impossible choice for her to make. And again, it's something that is
Yeah. No, in war, my experience is that, you know, the humanity is shrinking, and your feelings are shrinking, because you, at the beginning, you want to save everybody, and Aida is saying, you know, let these people in, and when she doesn't succeed, she has to think of her family, and then she's trying to rescue them, and then if she's not able, so she's shrinking, and she says at least one person to save, at least one son. So this is, you know, again, about the war. It makes us unhuman, it makes us small, and we can't be who we are.
yes, yes, yeah. Um, but yeah, it's a very, very strong movie, and again, there's, you know, there are a number of small details that inform it. The images of the soldier is crying, that uh, the the madness, you know, the madness of war is absolutely on display. But I just tell me about your approach to filmmaking. You've done what, 5 features now? Feature film. Are you? You're a writer and director. Uh, do you have particular collaborators you like to work with in you know, some of the technical areas?
Yeah, first of all, I have a partner, a producer, Damir Ibrahimovic. We work together from idea to the end of the movie. So I am always telling him about what I would like to do, and how I would like to do, even before I write the script. So when we go into the film, when we both decide, okay, this is something that we really feel very strongly about, I also help producing it, in a sense that, you know, talking to foundations and putting stuff together and being at the meetings. But once production starts, I'm just a director, and Damir and team of our team is working on a production. But this is very important collaboration for me, because Damir is creative producer who wants to have everything the best for the film, even if it's very risky for the budget and financing. We were very often really at the edge, because you know, we live in a country that doesn't produce many films. It's one of the poorest countries in Europe, so very often we were on the edge. But Damir was really brave to keep us going, and you know, to unite the crew over this idea of this movie. And everybody was working on a film, not only as a wonderful professionals, but also it was really done because people believe this is a important subject, not only about Bosnian past, but also about Europe today, about the world today. So also I have a cinematographer, Christine Meyer. I did all films with her. We are also very close, and we start talking even before the script is made. So it's these two people are people that I share artistic views. We have very similar taste in films, in the way we treat life, human beings. So this is something that I would always say, you know, I don't feel this film is mine. I feel really it's a collaboration of many people which did it.
Yes, yes. Do you, would you say that, I'm curious, is the story controversial, or is it controversial in your country?
It is very controversial, and Srebrenica is a very problematic topic, because Serbian government and a lot of Serbian people say that genocide never happened. So there is a huge denial coming from that side in the media, in you know, among Serbian intellectuals. So it's something which before every elections, Srebrenica is huge topic, because there are fights over it. You know, once they never happened, then victims are insulted. This is very, very heated, still very heated subject.
You also mentioned that some of your collaborators like the same kinds of films you do. I wonder if what films do you like to watch or have influenced you?
Oh, wow. What should I say? I mean, for this film, we watched obviously a lot of war movies, you know, from Full Metal Jacket. We analyzed a lot Schindler's List, especially how they were, how Spielberg and his team did mass scenes. We learned a lot from that film, because it was very creatively done, where with the set design, many things are hidden, and you still have a feeling that you have masses of people, and actually you don't. So this helped us a lot to create our scenes, where, because we couldn't afford to have so many people every day on a set. So we really studied carefully how this was done. You know, we watched also Claire Denis' Boy Travail, which is not a war film, but it's still showing this military structures. Right. Thin Red Line, also we analyzed. Yes, quite a lot of films, and also we prepared for the crew all of that to watch together, in order to have to be on the same starting point when we talk about, or when we compare stuff.
But just as a woman filmmaker, what challenges have you experienced in your country?
I mean, because of other films I did, and awards that films received, I'm kind of established filmmaker here, so I didn't have any problems as a woman. But to come to that point was quite an effort, because like in my academy where I studied, 4 years I was studying, and never heard a name of a woman filmmaker. Only men existed, only men were genius. So sometimes I was wondering, what am I doing here? And after we finished academy, you know, my colleagues, women, we were really among best students, and had films already at film festivals, our student work, but we were never offered any job from producers, theater companies, because I also studied film and theater directing. So nobody invited us. So I had to establish my own production company in order to work. And at the beginning, it was, you know, you feel, especially with the, you know, all these guys on a film set, that they were judging you and thinking, you will not be able to do so. But after the first film got Golden Bear, you know, nobody was ever questioning this. And even, you know, in Bosnian language, there is a word for director, and we have this feminine and male versions of it. Like doctor, you have doctor, and women version is doktorica. So every profession has these two versions, except director or screenwriter. And I insisted in every interview that people say rediteljica, which is a feminine form. And journalists were saying, no, it's so hard to say, it's not natural. Some academics were saying, oh, she's forcing our language, she's raping our language. But I say, no. You have to, otherwise I'm not giving interview if you don't use this word. And now in my country, there is nobody who doesn't feel it's completely natural to say rediteljica. It's absolutely natural. So, you know, language is always coming first. First were the words and then the reality. So now it's completely normal for people that there are directresses and yes.
Yes. Is it, do you know, does this film yet have an American distributor?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We are waiting.
Okay.
No, many people love the film, but I guess, yeah, the subject sounds heavy.
It's a tough subject. It is. Yeah, it is a tough subject. But
I have to say, I have feeling really that, as I said, I don't think of this film anymore as my film, but I really have feeling that it talks about the world today. And, you know, especially with these events on January 6th in US, I think it is connecting so much, because this is exactly how war in Bosnia started, with people who denied what was results of the elections, people who destroyed democratic institutions, people who were in their own facts which were not true. It's exactly how it started. So I really wish US see this film and that it never comes to this point, because this is how it starts and this is how it ends. And I really think US citizens are more smart than we were.
It's an extraordinary film, and thank you very much. Very enjoyable talking with you. I hope we can meet in person one of these days.
Yes, I hope so. And have a good health and lots of love to audience and to you from the festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for
very
choosing.
much. Bye-bye.